Whether you are on an adventure or at the downtown cafe, your answers are no more than a sniff away. Dog Training 360's purpose is simple: to teach you why dogs do what they do, as well as the action steps you need to take to have better communication, connection, consistency, and conceivability with your dog. Our last podcast, we talked about the leash and how stressful having a leash on your dog can be, and the intentions and the reason why we say that we need to have it on there. And the one thing that people get hung up on is, the other thing that people get hung up on is using a crate and how to use the crate and what the crate is for, and kind of crate training. They find it, most people find it somewhat mean. It's a very, use the crate, and we got to wean them into the crate, and we got to make them like it, and we don't want to punish them and use the crate for punishment. And so then they end up just not using the crate because they don't know how to use it and what to do with it. And weaning your dog into a crate, who has time for that when they tell you, okay, every day, have them in there and feed them in there with the door open. And I don't know who has time for that. Everybody works. Everybody's got, we got to get this done. And the one thing that I, like to say is, if we act like we're nervous and we're manipulating, then the dog is going to read into that. Has nothing to do with the crate. If we're weird about the crate, has nothing to do with the crate. As far as them liking the crate, it has everything to do with this crate makes you weird, so we better not feel safe in it. Mm-hmm. And so, starting out, I'm really like, get the crate, start using the crate. There's no other rule. There's no other expectation. There's no way of weaning into it. It should just be a part of life, like a bedroom down the hall. Mm-hmm. And so it's really something that I find very fascinating. People would prefer to lock their dog into a laundry room or a bathroom, not over a crate. Or they're willing to sacrifice the house, or they make sure somebody is home with them all the time, or they have a dog hiker come get them because the dog can't be home alone. Leave them outside and then complain because the dog is destroying the yard. I don't know, what are some of the other excuses or things that people do that just like, heaven forbid, the dog is in the crate. If they use a crate, then it becomes, they're never in there any longer than 2 or 3 hours, ever. And, to me, I think it's just unfair to the dog to live like that. Shannon, you use a crate for all of your dogs, and what is your, how do you feel like they feel about their crates?
My dogs are on a spectrum of how much they like it. I guess I would say, like, everyone goes in it and it's fine. It's what we do. We have times when we have to be in there. We sleep in there, whatever. Louis loves his crate. Yeah. He loves to spend time in there, and he loves it so much, he's put this huge value on it, right, to where the other dogs think his crate is the coolest one, and that's the one where they all want to be. Yeah. And so whenever he's not in it, one of the other 2 dogs are sleeping in there. Yeah. They all love his crate specifically, because he loves it so much. They think, oh, well, this one's the cool one, because, and he doesn't really like go in the other ones because he's the oldest and he's had his crate's been here for his whole life, right? Yeah. So he's not really, he'll go in the other ones, but he just goes in to see what's happening and comes back out, Yeah. Dutch will go anytime, like, there's an expectation of, like, she thinks I expect something of her. She runs in the crate. Yeah. Yes, I've mastered I'm reading your mind, right? You wanted me in the crate, correct? Yeah. So she runs in there. Like, if I stand up, she hurries and runs in the crate. If we come inside, she hurries and runs in the crate. So if we're gonna have food, she hurries and runs in there. So she goes in there as like anticipating that I'm going to want her. It's a job. Yes, to go in.
Yeah.
Ripley doesn't want to go in there. But if you ask her, she will.
Yeah.
But you have to specifically ask her to go in.
Right.
And only then will she begrudgingly go in there,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And it's, you know, I personally don't have feelings that I'm like, oh, she hates it,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
She wants to be in Louie's.
Right.
It's not like that she doesn't like the crate. It's just like, well, Louie's is the fancy apartment.
Yeah.
How come I have to go in this crappy one?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they're on a spectrum of their personal feelings of ownership and liking to go in there, I think. But it's all a part of all of their life. We use it every day for all of them. They really have the same rules, if we use that word, about when we use it and how we use it and how we like it.
Yeah.
But I don't personally have feelings of like, oh well, one shouldn't go in because they don't like it or not.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I'm on a thing of we are on a journey of learning how to live in the house, and when we've achieved the master of learning in the house, we don't have to stay in there all the time.
Right.
Like, you know, we can be out and do things, but even though Louis graduated to being out all the time, I do still make him go in there.
Sure.
Sometimes, you know. So, it's not, I don't think it's a punishment for them to be in there or not.
Yeah.
Because even though I leave the door open when I leave, where does Louis go?
Yeah.
And sleeps in that crate all day. Because it's a tool of, this is what you're supposed to do when this happens.
Yeah. Yep.
When we go to the house, you go in here and sleep, and you're cozy and safe, and
Yeah.
you're in your little room. And whether the door is open or not, and whether I'm here or not, that's what he does.
Right.
You know, it's a level of training.
Yeah. Yeah. Jess, talk about your crates and, you know, your dogs at home, and how you use it, and then also just, you know, using it at when we've got board and trained dogs and stuff like that. Like, what's the crate to you and the dogs in your house?
Did you want me to talk about what type of crates I have?
Doesn't matter.
Oh, okay. When we have board and trained dogs, we're just building some routines. And routines and structure and helping them be comfortable in it, which really I don't put a whole lot of thought into it. It's just, here's the routine.
Yeah.
And then usually, depending on the dog, after a couple of days, they're running to their crate.
Yeah.
Or if I have all the crate doors open, it's play guess what crate I need to be in.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, I need you in this one.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how we use it for them. And then my own personal dogs, they all just run in there. They kind of just know the routine. Zuri was crated a lot just because she was for working, not for pet purposes.
Yep.
And so she'll run in there and she'll sit there and just wait. If you're trying to work them around in that crate area, everybody's rushing for their kennels. And so then they like the kennels so much. Like, there's some value in there. Yeah. It's like, no, that's not what we're doing today. We're going to hang out in the middle of the floor. Yeah. I do have a couple of different kennels as well. I have what's called a rough, tough kennel, and it's a harder plastic. I'm not sure, can't remember what it's called, but we use that for a lot of dogs that break out of their kennels that we don't want them getting any more success. And building a habit and feeling like they're safe in there, and it's not going to harm themselves either.
Yep. Yeah.
So
ours are, it's so much of a routine that even dogs that are not crate trained, it just becomes so much a part of everything that they just like head into the crate, and we don't really have problems as we're crate training dogs. In general, we don't have a big problem with it because it's just really a part of, like, that's your room. It's not a cage. We don't treat them like caged animals. We treat them like this is your room, and, you know, just it's time for sleep and it's time for a nap because you're stimulated and you're worked and you have social time and you get to smell and you get to visually see things, and so that crate becomes that release of pressure of life, and that's how we really treat it as is. It's a very comfortable place. It's their room, and it should be their room, but it doesn't mean that you can't correct them in there. If they're causing chaos, then you go in and discipline. You know, you give them a verbal, that's enough. And but it doesn't mean that they don't associate the crate to that discipline. And I am still to this day have a hard time, and maybe Shannon and Jessica, you guys can have some input on it. When people say, don't use the crate for discipline, I don't know what that means. I don't know, because if a dog can't be with me politely and kindly and respectfully, then they can be in their room.
Well, that's just like with your kids.
Exactly.
If your kids can't handle being out among everybody, then, well, you're going to go to your room for a little bit. Or even you can go stand against the wall.
Right.
Or it's just redirecting them into something else for a while because they can't.
This is hard for them to be there at that moment.
Sit on a chair.
Yeah.
Well, and kids still like their room. Like,
right.
The kids have all their stuff in their room. They mostly spend all their time in their room anyway.
Yeah.
Especially as they grow older to be in teens, and then you have to drag them out of their room, right?
Yeah.
It's like they're not coming out in the world because it's their safe place, right?
Yeah.
When you're a teenager, lots of things are not safe, and so their room is a safe. But it's like when you send them there, and you're like, well, you're going to have to go to your room. Then they're like, oh, but I don't want to be,
Yeah.
It's but the dog doesn't have that feeling like, I don't want to be in there. They're not mad about it, but they kind of have a feeling like, but I wanted to be with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
I thought that's what we were doing. I'd
Yeah.
rather be with you. And so then when you let them out, then they're like, yes,
I can be with you.
I'm
Yeah.
being with you. So they don't have, like, sending your kid to your room. Kids sometimes will get mad and they don't want to be in there. Dogs don't ever get mad like that.
Yeah.
But the dog does have the same love for the room that a kid does when they're not being, quote, punished, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I have found the only time a dog does not want to go into their house or their room is when they don't feel safe in it. And that's because that is on the owner of being weird. Like this purple elephant in the room that's weird, and let's not, oh, sorry, I have to put you in this thing. That's on the owner. And that's why dogs don't want to go in, because they're terrified because it makes their owners weird. And like that's the only time I've seen a dog like not want to go to their room. Like I just don't. It's not really a thing. And so to understand, like, how do you make the association to a dog that the crate is a bad place to be because of punishment does not make sense in my brain at all.
No, well, because they don't do it ever as punishment, too. The dog doesn't.
Yeah. And I'm not doing it as a
think
punishment.
that way.
I'm saying, you can't be with me. Mm-hmm. So you're going to go be there because that's where you can be calm and settled, and that's what you need to be working on. So it's really something that, and I hear it over and over and over in every home that I go into is, they're crate sharing. They sleep in there at night, and they sleep in there, when nobody's home. And sometimes that's like, there's somebody home all the time, so the dog's not in there for, 2 weeks, and then we go skiing, and then the dog's in the crate. Because we don't want to use it as punishment. And so I just don't understand that, like, way of thinking. I have to, like, reset them, like, you're not punishing it.
I think the other thing that they say that relates to the same thing is, oh, I feel bad.
Yeah.
And I think really that's more of what it is.
Right. Yep.
They feel bad because they want the dog to be with them. Like putting the dog in the crate is a punishment for them. Yeah. Because they want the dog to be with them,
But they don't. There's a lot of people that are exhausted because they have the dog with them all the time.
Oh, yeah. Some people
But they feel bad putting him in the crate.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, but the dog wants to be in there. They need to have their time to sleep and to check out and have permission to do that as well.
Well, even to process, like I always tell my clients with some of the younger dogs and even the older ones, it's, okay, we're going on this training journey today, and we're going to do sit and downs or whatever it is, go for a walk.
Yep.
They did really good. Put them away for a little bit to kind of let that all soak in and process.
Yeah. Yep.
What did we just do today?
Right.
Give them that time.
And that's a great thing, Jess, because a lot of people say we get home from the walk and they're just crazy. And it's because they're trying to process everything that's happened and they don't know what to do. So if you put them in their crate, it helps them be able to settle physically so that mentally they can process everything that they did. And it's tiring to them. They're tired.
Yep.
Any work. I mean, oh my gosh. Yesterday I took Caroline for a walk. It was like 6 minutes. It's she did amazing.
Good.
And then we worked on getting her to sit up next to me instead of sitting behind me. And so I worked a total of like 15 minutes with her. Oh, she wanted to go to her crate. She was exhausted. I would go down there and check, and, there's sometimes I force her out, but if she's just crashed, like she didn't come out from after, gosh, what time did we get done? Like 2:30 yesterday. So from 2:30 until 6.
Nothing.
So, well, I guess 3 to 6 because I went home and worked her. Not a peep. Like she was crashed. And then even the whole rest of the day, it was like she was on this little euphoric high of, I don't know, maybe she grew up or something. But, but yeah, she was, and I normally do put him in the crate. And Patsy is finally to a point that with herding and stuff, yesterday she got tied up and she didn't get a zip around like it was like from her tie up and then into her crate in the back of the truck. So it really just is, it gives them time to process, their time out with you, their training, their walk, their meal times, instead of getting, worked up over food. Like you don't have to worry about it, just eat and then get into this little food coma, because that's what we do, instead of eat and get crazy. And then it helps, get them onto a routine for bathroom where we eat, we're in our crate for a half hour, and then we come out and we'll poop, and then we can be in the house. So, this crate it's only weird and emotional to us. And the dog really, they thrive in it. They absolutely thrive in having a crate. And they're much better dogs being in the crate. And I just did a consultation, and they have this Chihuahua that is fierce. He is fierce. And I asked, is he crate trained? And he's 8 years old. And they said, well, what do you mean by that? And I said, well, do you have a crate? Yep. He travels in it. I said, okay, tell me how much, just kind of give me the rundown of what this crate is. And they've just never been told to use it like that. But the dog loves his crate. Like he was really much more comfortable with me being there when he was in his crate, because he was safe. And they're like, well, we never did that. And I said, that's because this is what he's been needing. And it was the first time that dog had settled with having somebody at the house, because he's gotten more and more fierce. So, it's, you can use the crate for so much. Your dogs don't always want to be a part of chaos.
No. And I noticed with my dog that they're like, when they're at a puppy or when they're like new to your home,
Yeah.
that they are more naughty when that certain things are happening.
Yes.
Like they're more naughty sometimes when they're hungry.
Yeah.
They're more naughty sometimes when they're not sleeping.
Yeah.
Because they're in a new place and it's really stimulating and they don't know what's going on and they're trying to take all this stuff in, and you want to play with them, your kids want to play with them, and they start being naughty because they're tired.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you notice that they're being naughty and you just put them in there for a little nap.
Yeah.
Then, so the naughtiness comes from this overstimulation, because dogs really sleep a ton.
Yeah.
Like naturally, they're sleep all day long. And even puppies is even more.
Right.
So if like the naughty behavior is a symptom of not having enough time to sleep, then they need that safe place to be able to do that.
Right.
That's less stimulating.
Yeah.
So they can fall asleep.
Yeah, completely. So, my advice to everybody out there listening to this and crates and having, crate training, and what do? Put them in the crate. Stop worrying about it. Stop thinking about it. Make it a great place. Give them their bones. Give them their food. I have a great, crate training schedule that I follow with all the dogs, and it's really about just coming home and using it. And I think that you'll find that your dogs are much better dogs if you give them time in their bedroom, just like our kids are when we give them time in their bedroom to just let them be them and be creative and sleep and relax and be calm. We're all much better when we have that in our life. And so that's, to me, stop looking at the crate as a cage. Stop looking at it as a way of containing the dog, and look at it as it's their bedroom, and it needs to be used as such.
Oh, and you can rename it too.
Yeah.
I have people that are like, oh, the bed is their kennel.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's cool.
Yeah.
Go to your bed. Go to your bedroom.
Yep. Yep. And that's what I call mine. Go get in your house or go get in your room. It's one or the other.
I say go to your room.
Yeah. Yeah.
I say kennel.
That's the working dog on you.
That is
in
the
you.
working dog on me.
I think that came when we had met the Italian Greyhound, because, he was, I don't know, he was our emotional dog for some weird, I don't know, we were all different with that dog. And so his was, okay, Mitt, get in your house, get in your little tiny house, get in your room, get in your, and then all of a sudden now that's just what I call it. With outside dogs, it's kennel, but for my own, it's either get in your house or go to your room. Caroline's, we always tell her to go to her room, or she's going to her room. She's really routine that way. And Patsy's is get in your house. So yeah, rename it and get emotionally attached to renaming it and being okay with that. Really is their room.
Mm-hmm.